Hello and welcome to Indie Bants, the Indie Bandits podcast where we talk about indie games and whatever else we feel like. I'm Joe and I'm joined by Jimmy. If you
Hello.
join us on the live stream, you'll be able to see our lovely faces if technology is playing along, which it seems that it is.
Looks like it is.
There's always a hiccup or two every bloody time. I don't know how full-time streamers manage this, because we just spend the first half of every bloody podcast or stream trying to make sure everything works.
I know, but I suppose we don't do it all the time. I think if you were a streamer and you just did this was your job, you'd just have it all set up perfectly. You probably have a PC that's just purely set up for the streaming. You don't use it to do anything else.
Yeah, instead of our PCs, which mine is for everything, work, games. So I did get a cheeky laptop for free. I was quite happy about that. There's
just keeps giving you sass whenever you open it.
Yeah. I mean, it does, but that's because I haven't probably set it up yet. It was some initiative that some bursary initiative thing where I got a free laptop as long as I paid the VAT on it, which essentially
wouldn't have been that much.
It was about the cost of a laptop, so I might have just been ripped off. Yeah, no,
that just sounds like you paid for a laptop.
No, I got quite a bit of free digitalization services plus a free laptop, so I had to pay all the VAT on all that stuff, and then I'll get that VAT back. Hopefully, we'll see. But the VAT came to about the cost of this free laptop that came with it, which is now just a streaming device for the big telly upstairs. Yeah. So yeah, VAT. This is the first topic of Indie Bants. This is what you hear for the for Indie Bants. This is the kind
Joe buying laptops.
Yep. Oh, cracking. No, we will talk about games at some point as well, but just felt like catching up for a bit. I just thought you want to know about my current tax situation, Jimmy.
Obviously, that's what I'm joined the call for. That's what I assumed we'd be talking about when you said let's talk about indie games. I thought, well, he obviously wants to talk about tax.
How's your tax situation? All good?
I mean, yeah, it's the same
evasive.
Yeah, is it evading or avoiding? What's the?
Well, some people call it avoiding. Is that Ken Brockman on The Simpsons, right?
Yeah, one of them's technically legal, isn't it? Like avoidance and evading tax is illegal. Avoiding tax is legal, right?
Maybe.
Because one of them, it's what all the celebrities do, when they open a foundation, a charitable foundation. It's not because they're actually charitable, it's because they want to hide their money and pay less tax. So, I think that's avoidance. My God, we've really hit at the start of this with a dry topic,
yes. Well, we both like hockey. Let's fucking talk about that. That's
we could talk about indie games. I mean, that is an option as well.
I want to talk about tax and sports.
Tax and sports.
No. All good. Well, we were talking about potentially discussing DIY for a bit, weren't we? Talking about drywall situations.
I had a roof around.
Nice.
I was having a chat with him.
You got damp? It's always damp, isn't it? Leaks.
Well, it's like a 130-year-old roof, so it's kind of showing its age now. But he actually, interesting point here. He was part of the team that redid Durham Cathedral's roof recently. So he's. Is
that the one that recently collapsed? No.
Yeah, the one that fell in after the repairs. Yeah. So that was an interesting tidbit of information that I got this morning. He's been on top of Durham Cathedral's roof.
Nice. It's a beautiful cathedral as well.
It is. It's a nice one. It is.
We didn't lie when we were like, oh, let's call it Indie Bants, because there's going to be just top level banter from start to finish.
There is, yeah.
Tax, historic restoration.
My roof.
I mean, that's the whole point. We'll be doing these quite regularly anyway, so we've got the kind of space to mess about. The idea is to have a kind of fairly regularly catching up session between us, and if we filled it with indie games, well, you'd get bored. It'd be too much indie games. I mean, not that we've spoken about a single indie game yet.
Like a busman's holiday, wouldn't it? When you came on, like if you're into indie games and your life is indie games, and you're an indie game developer or a fan or a gamer, and then you came and all we did was talk about indie games and not interested in things like tax and roofing, then you'd be like, well, this is just information that I get every day anyway.
Yeah, I know.
But now you get all these interesting additional topics.
A refreshing change of pace for indie game fans. But the idea is that we're gonna obviously talk about what we've been playing, and we also would like to highlight games from within the community as well as something that we used to do really regularly until life didn't find a way for us, did it? Life kind of got in the way. It's life's busy.
Yeah, sometimes things just get busy, and I think as well we were kind of like we were a bit ambitious back then, weren't we? With like how much we were trying to cover and how much it was actually possible to do it. It was a bit it did interfere a little bit sometimes when there was a couple or 2 or 3 games that we were all trying to play before every podcast, and it got quite difficult to manage that, didn't it? So I think this way around we'll try and do it so it's more sustainable.
Well, it did once it let us once they let us out of the house. I think this is the thing that we kind of forget. Like, it's coming up 5 years now ago. I mean, 5 years for COVID, 6 years for Indie Bandits. Like, Indie Bandits for the first year was just a stupid little project I was doing, like starting a blog, trying to find new indie games, and that kind of cracked on for a year. It was just quiet, and then more bandits joined the fray, and then 2 months later we all had like nothing to do other than sit in the house and play games and talk about them. So we understandably had loads of time to play several games each a month, have a regular podcast, have all these like community initiatives, and then slowly but surely people let us back outside, and
there's stuff to be getting on with again.
Yeah, we've got we 2 kids now, Jimmy. You've been busy. Well, and both of us with mortgages now as well, so it's just a nightmare. I mean, tell us more about your roof.
Well, it's a traditional Welsh slate roof.
Is it actually?
It is, yeah.
You've been talking about roofs all day, right? Yeah. So let's jump into chat about the games we've been playing. These aren't going to be like unearthed hidden gems every time. It's just literally what we've been able to get round to playing. But if we think they're worth celebrating, as is our motto here at Indie Bandits, celebrating independent games. If we think they're worth celebrating, and we've played something that you may have heard of it, you may not have, but if we've played it and we've liked it, we'll tell you a little bit about it. And that's just
stuff that we find interesting that's going on in the indie games world, isn't it?
Yeah, if it's a kind of like a show and tell, you can catch up with us. Obviously, you're welcome to give suggestions in the chat if you're joining us live. If not, then you can find us on all the usual socials. We're Indie Bandits on everything except Instagram, where we are the Indie Bandits, because somebody's just hanging on to that name and we can't steal it back off them. So if you want to pressure Indie Bandits on Instagram, feel free. Don't harass them. Just pressure them to see this name for this unused account that holds the handle.
They were like, "Oh, I'm going to take this, and then like maybe I'll be able to sell it to them in the future." I was like, "Yeah, you've been a bit ambitious with that one."
That's it. It's technically, at least for URLs, it's supposedly illegal to just sit on URLs that you have no intention of using.
I know someone who made a lot of money from that in the early days.
Before they like outlawed it, yeah, it was.
They bought a load of domains, and like 100 domains for like different businesses, and they were just hoping that, like,
or McDonald's.com.
Yeah, stuff like that, and they were just hoping like 1 or 2 of those businesses had become big enough to be able to buy it, and that's what happened. I can't remember who it was. Was it Virgin?
Oh, that's it.
Maybe like Virgin.com or something. And
they think what that site was before that.
It wasn't anything. I said he just bought the domain and sat on it, and made a killing off it. I can't remember how much, but it was a considerable sum of money.
Nice. Well, yeah, you can follow that. Let's talk about the games.
I want to talk about roofs and domains.
Domains, taxes, mortgages.
child rearing,
all the stuff you hear for two middle-aged gamers trying to hold on to their youth by doing it.
Podcasting about games.
By podcasting, I mean, we are the demographic for having a podcast anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
and yes,
the sweet spot of cliche.
And those who haven't joined us in a while, I've grown my hair out just to really look for it. Just let me have this crisis, all right?
Joe's gotten into hockey, everyone, if you can't tell by his visual appearance. Really gotten into hockey.
The hair was unrelated to the playing of hockey. I was into hockey, I just didn't play it. That's now.
He's got the beard going and
now
everything.
Now in my late 30s, it's my playoff beard. Basically, I'm going to grow it until I
You'll have to
make
ask,
it grow.
Ciriel to knock a couple of teeth out as well, just to really complete the look.
I normally don't have to ask. But yeah, well, anyway, let's talk about the games we've been playing, because this is getting very silly. I don't know if you've seen it, Jim, but I went through when I have a moment, open up the Epic Store, and there's obviously lots of free games in there, because every week or two there's a free game. I think they're weekly. Sometimes they roll them for 2 weeks. I don't know what the crack on is, but you end up with loads of games there, and I always try and claim them. And I finally went back to Ape Out. I don't know if you remember this game. There was a demo of it donks ago. It's I think we played it on stream. This is going years back, but the idea is it's like a top-down shooter, but you play an ape that's escaping from a lab. And it's very. You remember this? Yeah, it's really like artsy fartsy. Looks really cool, and I think the audio is procedurally generated along with what you do in the game. So basically, it's like freeform jazz. So as you have two attacks. You can punch, or you can grab. And when you grab, you can use the punch button to throw the enemies into other enemies, and everyone explodes in a big stylized cloud of blood. And it's really jazzy and funky, and all the sounds are freeform jazz drum fills as you in time with the explosions and stuff. So it's it's I'm not gonna scat on the podcast. I think we should just go back to more that, less scat is the new tagline for the podcast. But it's it's a really cool wee game, and it's one that you can jump in quite quickly, and I believe the levels are sort of pseudo generated. You've got to get you get through the level, and it's and they're represented as records. So each level is a certain disc or record or B-side, A-side kind of thing. It's a whole thematic thing, but it's very cool. And I was playing it on my PC with a keyboard and mouse. Highly recommend using it with a controller, because I think these kind of top-down shooters, I think twin stick shooters is actually the correct term. Those kind of things like Hotline Miami and all that kind of stuff are much better if you have if you just have an analog stick to point where you want, instead of trying to get your mouse cursor relative to your character to point them in that direction. And speaking of that, just literally before I went live, got me 2 controllers delivered. It's a whole nightmare. I'm being usurped by Sony. They've got a whole thing against me because I haven't got the PS5 yet, because there are no games on it yet that I want, and I'm not sinking that money when I have a perfectly fine PS4 that works. Except they don't properly sell the controllers anymore. They're kind of phasing out the controllers. It's been a nightmare trying to get my hand on a couple of PS4 controllers. It's and even delivery of these ones took 2 weeks, but they just don't sell them anywhere anymore. They're just getting rid of them, or you have to get a third party one. And after Mad Catz did me wrong in the 90s, I'm not going back to that. It's those those schneidi controllers with the turbo buttons and that kind of crack on. So but I think I'm going to jump back into Ape Out with the controllers after this weekend. It's
nice.
It's very it's one of those games where it's quick and easy to play, which I think is the winner for most games. I do enjoy a game with a long a long narrative and experience, but
it's nice to have the ones where you can just jump in for 30 minutes, have a bit of a go, and you don't feel like you haven't achieved anything, with an RPG, I've barely done anything. And the whole idea of I log into that and then I set it up and then I play for like, it feels like it's almost not worth doing. So
the
then
tutorial and the
it.
character creation are about an hour in themselves. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I'm busy.
Even then,
I've got stuff on.
Getting to the start of a quest is like, well, that's a 20-minute journey just to get to the start of the quest. So yeah, unless you've got a bit of time. So it's nice to have these ones where you can just jump in quick and play for, however much time you've got, and then jump straight back out of it again.
Yeah. So I'll jump into that after the weekend. I'm away this weekend. What about you? What you been playing? Anything of note?
Yeah, well, I've been quite a bit of a 40k kick at the minute. There was Warhammer 40,000 for anyone who doesn't know what 40k is, but I think it's pretty well known in our circle, I guess.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Space Marine 2, which I'm really enjoying. Obviously, that is not an indie game. But one other one that I picked up recently called Rogue Trader, which is published by, made by Owlcat Games. They are an independent studio. It is a 40k RPG where you play as a rogue trader who owns this large spaceship, and you have been given the remit to go and explore worlds beyond the control of the Imperium to bring them under the control of the Imperium, I guess. And you can trade, and you've kind of got a bit of a license to do what you want with it. And it's really interesting so far. I'm not too long into it. I've just gone through the opening part of the story, and yeah, I like the style of it. It's like the top-down RPG, kind of not as good graphically as a game like Divinity 2 or anything. No. I just mean the style of like Divinity, your top-down
like
view.
Isometric-y top-down kind of crack on.
Yeah,
it's not isometric, it's 3D, is it though? But it's got that kind of
3D.
Angled camera.
It's that angle, yeah. And it does look nice. It's not, as I say, not graphically quite as good as, like a Baldur's Gate 3 or Divinity or anything, but I'm just enjoying it. And then actually what I found out, aside from that, because I was checking, like, are they actually an independent studio? Because I had not really heard of them before. And it felt like an indie game, if that makes sense. And I actually found out it's quite an interesting thing. So they started as a studio within a much larger company called My Games, or My Games. But then they'd raised some money and spun out on their own. So they actually sort of bought themselves out of the ownership of this company. That company is still a strategic partner of theirs and an investor in their new independent studio. But they started off as part of a much larger thing, and then, like, almost like a management buyout style, raised the money to go independent. And it made me think that's a route I've not really heard about for an independent studio. That might actually be something that maybe some other indie developers or studios out there might consider if they are looking to work with larger studios to kind of get established. That's a route they could go down, where they have the security of being part of a larger company.
Without being swallowed up by them.
Yes, but then have the ability to sort of spin off on their own while still having that company as a strategic partner to help them out. So they make their games independently, it's entirely their choice, and they'll publish them and stuff. But I think it was quite an interesting way for an independent studio to exist. I've not really heard about that before. There's the typical model, which is just purely from start to finish, bootstrap. We built it up. We've always been independent. Then there's the investor model, which was shared by Snackbar Studio. I think I shared that on our channels not too long ago. The way they've done it is quite interesting as well. And then there's this one, which I'd not really heard about before, which I thought was quite an interesting way of doing it, because they've seemed to have been quite successful, and this game has been successful for them, which is good, because I love anything to do with 40k. And there's a huge hole, I think, in that franchise of like really good RPGs. You think the world and the IP would lend itself to just having loads of really good RPGs, but there's not too many, and this is one of the good ones. So this is the game I've been playing recently, and I'm quite enjoying it.
Nice. And how does it compare to Speaking to Roofers? Is it?
Oh, a bit different. Welsh Slate comes up quite a lot, strangely enough. But
nice one. Also, think we mentioned that a while back, and we just got back into it literally last night. I put this in as a late addition to chat about on the podcast. Is Valheim. This one was doing the rounds like a few years ago. Like it became huge. Is it still in early access or?
I don't know.
I'll look this up because it was huge. Yeah, it's still early access.
It feels like it's quite.
I mean,
we haven't gone too far in it. Like
no, because when I moved house, that was it. Today, just after the move in August, we started. Well, no, we played it a bit before, didn't we? Me, you, and Archie Bandit. We all had a blast of it. Like, was it early 2024? Never played it with Yudi, but was it early 2024? We started it for a bit, and then moved house in the August, and we jumped back into it because we had no furniture or anything like that. So I was like,
so you had to handcraft it in a game.
Basically, yeah, had to jump back in. But for those who don't know, it's not to oversimplify it, but I'd call it like Viking Minecraft. It's that won't do it justice because it's not like block based or whatever, but it is it's a survival game. It's halfway between like Minecraft and Don't Starve. It sits in that realm of games where you just like
visually different to those two games, but yes,
that's where the key difference is, that it's a very different aesthetic, but like the core part of it underneath, it's not as like free form building as Minecraft, where the entire world is like can be manipulated to your whim, but I think it has more crafting depth and stuff like that than Don't Starve, for example. But it's those kind of thing, and the game's in early access. Yeah, I mean it's been out for a few years now. I mean it's got 415,000 reviews on Steam, and is down as very positive. Like people have played this and heard of it, but if you haven't given it a go, if you've been hesitant about it, I mean we flipping love it. And
it's a good like chill game, isn't it? I mean, I guess it can be as chill or as intense as you want it to be, because you can go off and like find scary enemies to fight and stuff. But I quite enjoy just the building. I mean, we've gotten a bit. I've gotten a bit daft with the structure I'm trying to build. It's requiring like all of the forests to build it, but it is quite a relaxing game, isn't it? You can jump on, have a bit of a chat, and just play. It's not like you need to be, and this is no bad thing for the game, but like you don't need to be entirely concentrating on the game at all times, because you can sort of play it in quite a chill way.
Yeah, and it fills that gap in those kind of in that kind of space where you just like some days I just can't be bothered with a game that's just like really like mentally taxing. Like there's some especially like an online game or a co-op game where you're like it feels like we don't even like play the game together, if you get me, because sometimes it's just so intense and so like mentally taxing. Like you finish playing the game and you're like, well, so what have you been up to? We haven't even had like any crack on between the you're just like that happens a lot when I play Rocket League, like
right, yeah.
Dom and I play that a lot, and it's just like I don't know what's going on in Dom's life, because we just jump in, like, right, you ready for a couple matches, and then after an hour we're like, cool, all right, see you later, off to bed.
I was going to say the same thing about when we used to play Siege with you and Archie, but like there was actually periods within those rounds where like you were just sitting on the objective, so you were just having a bit of a chat while waiting for people to turn up. So that was a bit half and half, that game, wasn't it?
Well, Siege takes a bit longer between rounds, I think. There's a lot of like
you can have a chat between the rounds. Yeah.
Whereas I think from the match end screen on Rocket League to a new game, you can get in without like in less than a minute in some cases.
Oh well, okay.
SCG Studio says in the chat that they'd enjoy the live streams more if we played the games we found fun and interesting. That I assume they mean them, the indie developers and talk about them while playing. We've done this before, haven't we? We've done streams and community sent things. I mean, we do want to get more streaming. This is more for our podcast. This is just our, obviously, Indie Bants is just this is going to be repackaged as an audio podcast. So obviously, if we played the games, nobody would be able to see it. Obviously, we've put ourselves on screen, so you're not just looking at I mean, maybe better not to see our faces, but this is just for our podcast. So this is going to be a predominantly audio experience. So,
but this is more like just the chat around things we found interesting, games we'd like to highlight and stuff. But in an ideal world, we do get back to streaming the games and playing them as well, because that was something we really enjoyed doing. It's just we have to be careful about committing to too much right off the bat, because this is very much this is not our full-time job, so we have to find time to be able to do this. So this is easy for me and Joe to do. It's a way for us to celebrate indie games, and then hopefully we find some time as well to jump in and actually live stream some of these games, because we did enjoy doing that. So hopefully that can come soon.
Time and money. I mean, well, obviously, our inbox is there, hello@indiebandits.com. If people want to like send us games, I mean, but we get so many.
We do.
We get so many requests. Like, I think I'll have to check if it's still on
this morning as well. I've just seen on the
request form that we had open for a while. That's like full of thousands. We had like thousands of like devs obviously asking for us to provide coverage, and obviously sadly we can't say. Wow, at one point it got so bad we had to just say like a blanket no, please go through the form, because of the number for the sheer number of requests we were getting from devs who wanted us to showcase their game. Creedigma has had an idea. Show images in the video instead of playing the game. Like the idea, we're looking into some options like how we present this. We've got some like software platforms in mind to get to up the audio quality and all this kind of stuff. It's
that should make it a lot easier, because I believe that will give us the option to do that. So that's a really good shout. And once we've upgraded to we're looking at a piece of software, I think will definitely tick all the boxes for us, and that should make that a lot easier. It means we can share all of that stuff.
Yeah, we just need to then obviously get the like streaming set up, and that's like we said at the top. It's a thing where we always have such a ball ache getting everything set up and started, and obviously the more we do it, the more comfortable we'll get with just the with any kind of streaming. It's just the technical issues that can go wrong, and the amount of time. Like, hats off to people who do streaming on like such a regular basis for such a long time. They be able to, just like the whole like multimedia and the whole like level of presentation that streamers do. Obviously, I mean, you got your stream decks and all this gear that you have to invest in as well, which is, time and money that we would love to have. And maybe one day we get that, but it's also, we have to consider like the cost of investing in these kind of things versus how much we actually do this. So if this is something that people respond to, we're going back to SCG's original suggestion. We did also, when we were playing games on stream and that, and play, because we did the demo disc for a while. This was a thing we did where we got demos of indie games, and we played like 5 of them. And there's another guy on Twitter who is great for this, who does a very similar thing. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I think it's Indie Gameniacs. I forget how you pronounce it, but he does a very similar thing to what we used to do, where he does like a showcase of 5 indie games on a stream, which is cool. And we were doing that with the demo disc, and everyone who'd sent in it's old school, right? Everyone who'd sent in their demo and all that kind of crack on, where we showcased their games and we played their demo and everyone got like that 15 minutes of fame, and you know, it was a nice thing to do, but because of like timing and everything, attendance was quite poor. That was the disappointing thing about it. Obviously, we had a lot of devs saying like, "Oh, I'd love you to play my game. I'd love you to play my game." And we organized. We said it'd be great if, like, you know, if there's 5 devs and these 5 devs tell their audience and followers that we're doing this, and we get a lot of like cross pollination, cross promotion. Like, you know, you'll have the audience of 4 other games coming in to watch a stream about your game, and you bring your audience with you, and everyone brings their audience together, and we showcase it. And when it came down to the time, it's like in a lot of cases the devs didn't even show up, and it was, you know, it's kind of disappointing. I'll not name names, but it's you know, it was kind of sad that we put all this, you know, we put all the effort, we got everything together, we gave up our time for free, we've never charged for this, and then the attendance was so poor that in the end it was something we had to just stop doing. It's it was a lot of effort for the people who wanted us to do it in the first place to just not even turn up themselves. Was like, well, you know, this is our free time. Like, this is after work free time that we could be doing other things, and we've given it up to do this. And the people who asked us to do it didn't even turn up themselves. It's like, well, why are we doing this? You know? Yeah. So we had to stop doing that. But it would, streaming the games, playing the games, absolutely, that is on the plan. It's something we're going to look at doing. Once we've upgraded the software, we'll be able to do things like share screenshots, maybe even share the trailers in the live stream as well. Things like that definitely are a possibility. Just as we get more familiar with the whole, you know, the whole like streaming crack on, you know, it's it is a learning curve, and it's one of these things that the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And you know, like Jimmy said, it's something we're looking into do and try and really like kickstart. Oh, it's already February, but we're trying to kickstart this year with a concerted effort to really celebrate independent games. Like, it's our objective, but unfortunately, it's not something that we can do as in the same way we used to, where we just every you know, person and their dog could send us a request and we could honor that. Obviously, that was also partly during COVID, where, you know, we were stuck in the house, so we had a lot more free time to do that. We also have to take care of ourselves and our families, and, you know, go out and exercise and eat right and all the other things that, you know, keep our flesh and bone versions in good state. But but going forward, we're going to obviously, we're going to try and introduce these kind of things, like, you know, obviously the podcast, which you're listening to now, the streams of games is something we want to try and get better coverage on. But the way to find out about it all is we've got a mailing list that's accessible through the website indiebandits.com. If you sign up to that, that's going to get a kickstart as well, isn't it? We're going to start using, that's our preferred way to contact people about updates. So if you sign up the mailing list, that'll be something. We don't take the mick with that either. I mean, we, you know, it's not something we send, you know, we're not sending you an email 3 times a day like some mailing lists do. What we really want to do is, you know, kind of like either a weekly or monthly thing, depending on what we've been up to, just to point people in the direction of the stuff we've been doing and the stuff we will be doing. So it's the way to stay updated, and it's the best way to stay updated, because if you follow on socials, you don't get every single message, you don't get every single tweet, you don't get every single post. It's you know, socials can be quite ineffective at getting your message out. So mailing list is there if you want to stay up to date when we do stream games and stuff like that. Yep, definitely. That's probably the best way. But I think we'll quickly leave it there. These things we're trying to keep to about half an hour, just something quick, you know. Nice and bite-sized. Yeah, so bite-sized, so that if you are listening to the audio version of the podcast, it's something you know you can put on like a short train journey or a commute or something, or, you know, whilst you're doing like some chores around the house, something, you know, where, you know, you don't have to, we're not expecting you to invest 2 hours into a lengthy podcast, but it's something, you know, you can also just like go out for a walk or listen whilst you're doing some work, you know. It's I feel this is the best format that allows us to do it regularly and also keep you guys up to date. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us as well.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. You know where to find us, Indie Bandits, on everything except Instagram, but we'll not get into that again. And also the indiebandits.com website. You can get our email updates by signing up to the mailing list there, and obviously keep an eye out for all our articles and blog posts. And we'll catch you next time.
Yep, see you next time. Cheers.
Ta-ra.
Bye-bye.